Okay, so it's just about 2:30. So I'd like to just start and say aloha and welcome to iTeach808, Empowering Hawaii's Teachers in Technology Conference, sponsored by the Augustine Educational Foundation and Sacred Hearts Academy, Honolulu. My name is Maddie, and I'll be facilitating this session. And we are so honored to have Noah Myers join us today to share his expertise through a 45-minute presentation titled Google Forms, Basics, Surveys, Quizzes, and More. Please be aware that we are recording this session, so if you do not want to be recorded, we recommend that you might want to consider turning off your camera or viewing the recorded sessions afterwards. The recordings will be made available on YouTube and shared on iTeach808's website about a week after this event. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Noah Myers.
I'm putting the link for the slides if you guys want them in the chat, so just give me 1 second. So yeah, you can just click on that. It's going to prompt you to make your own copy. And then after that, you can do what you want with it. I'll try to keep my chat open so that you guys can ask questions through there too. And if you can always just raise your hand or something like that and jump on through either your audio or the chat to ask questions there too, if you'd like. So anywho, just giving a couple more people a chance to show up if they want. While we're waiting, make sure, like I said, click on the link and then it'll take you to making your own copy of the presentation. All right, I think that's enough teacher wait time. So let's get this party started. I always laugh when I do this slide. Today, all students will learn about the different ways to use Google Forms and make their own Google Form to improve their pedagogy, what have you. It's just something that I picked up in my earlier days. So before we begin, there is a quick form I would like you guys to do. I'll put it in the chat. And it'll help us throughout this little presentation. So I'll give you guys about a minute or two. Just a quick questionnaire. Do we have the Jeopardy music on tap by chance now? If you're having trouble accessing the form or the slides, please just let me know. But I think that they should all be good for you. Looks like I have 7 responses, looking pretty good. So this is the kind of stuff that I'm hopefully going to be teaching you guys how to do today. I'll give you some quick demonstrations so that you can borrow and go on your merry way. Do with it what you will. You don't have to do questionnaires about traveling, but hey, this could be something cool you could use at the beginning of the school year, modify it, do what you want with it. So this is just an example of some of the things that we're going to be going over today. We'll get to there when we get to there, but for right now, let's move on to the overview. I apologize for my love of memes, but I must include them. In order to, get good answers, we must ask good questions, and Google Forms gives us an opportunity to do that in the virtual world. So there are different ways to add different types of questions. You can add questions that have to do with images. You can attach videos. There's linear questions, checkboxes. There are also a few different new types of questions for like grids. So if you have multiple choice or like something that isn't necessarily fitting for just a single A, B, C, or D kind of thing, then there's different ways to ask that question as well. Sorry, 1 sec. There we go. If you were to look over here, this is the general layout of the Google form that you guys just took. I prompted you to add your email, and I'll show you how to do that later. For each of these questions, there's different ways to, sorry, the chat's getting in the way. You can add text and titles, add images, add videos, you can add different sections, and that's what also I did here too. So if you see section 1 through 4, but merely for every single option, I just added a quick picture that I collected, don't tell Google, off of Google. Section 2 is for the Tahiti people. I'm a surfer, so I had to include this picture, this beautiful picture of Teopu, also known as Tiahupo'o, and a couple varieties of questions from checkboxes, so on and so forth. And then kind of the same thing for Japan, same thing for France, and so on and so forth. So that's just a quick demonstration of the form that you guys just took. Oh, yes, there is a link to the slide. Sorry, I'll post it in the chat one more time. When you click on the link, Lisa, it'll prompt you to make your own copy so that literally these slides are now yours. If you do show them to somebody else, just give me a good shout out. That's all I ask. But they'll become part of your Google Drive if you have a Google account. Yep. No problem. And there is a Google form that I asked everybody to take, Lisa, the one that I was just going over. If you want to go through that, it'll take you about 30 seconds. If you want to do it later, that's totally fine too. So again, those are the types of questions that I was talking about. We'll go over those a little bit more in more detail. You can add different sections, and the button to do that is over here. So if I wanted to add another section, literally, I would probably do it towards the bottom, go over here, and then cool, I have another section. I can probably add another location on the earth that people might want to travel to. I know we all miss traveling. This is kind of cruel of me to mention traveling right now when it's so hard to do at the moment. But yeah, that's one way to add sections. The coolest thing about forums is not only the questions that you get to ask, but the answers that you get. So as you can see, for the different types of questions, it will automatically produce different types of answers in different ways. I like the pie charts when I ask multiple choice. This is a good way to get surveys from your students, but it can summarize it by the whole class. You can go individual by individual. So if this were a quiz or something like that, when I'm going to the responses, I see all the people that have submitted a response. Looks like I did it myself. Here's a pie chart, generally for the A, B, C, or D kind of questions. The short answer response. Oh, good job, everybody. You got it. One response. And then the percentage of people that answered what phrases which. I think that was the multiple selection answer. And this is how it shows, excuse me, the days of the week, the yes, the no, and the maybe. Everybody wants to go on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yep, we go every day. So depending on the type of question you ask, it'll give you different representations of the data. But the cool thing is you have all the data now. It's all there for you. So now it's time to set it up. Anybody ever sent their students an assignment or a Google form many more than one time? Because I know I have. And this one just kind of struck a chord with me. All right, so setup, you have different tools that are available to you. You can customize your theme. The header, for instance, let's go back to the questions, is the image at the top. The color, obviously, colors around it. And if you click on this little color palette up here, it'll show you different theme options. You can also upload, excuse me, custom images if you want, if you don't want to choose one of their stock images. Usually by the image that you provide, it'll provide you also with a few different colors that match your theme. So you don't have to worry about your artistic choices. Google kind of takes that for you. It'll all look good. And then you can preview it as a student. So say you want to check it out before you send it over. Always a really good idea. You catch something. Just click on the big eye looking icon, and then it shows you what they will see. And then different settings that are available to you. So this is one thing that, sorry, I didn't mean to go to that one. When you click on, where did that button go? I think as I minimize my screen. Oh, settings. Ha 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 ha. They moved it over here. You can make it a quiz. Let me get rid of this stuff on the side. You can manage your responses, and now they do this little pull down menu if you want to see more options. If you're not concerned with it, you can just leave it closed and collapsed. You can collect email addresses. I like to do this when I am using it as a quiz, or if I need to really know who's collecting it. If you're doing something that's anonymous, I would not do this just to honor their anonymity. You can send them a response. I usually leave it off because they know what they responded, unless they need it for their records. This is a good thing to have as an administrator. You can allow them to edit it. So if they want to go back and change their answers that they provided, that's what you would do. And also limit them to one response. This is a great idea for a quiz because you don't want them to do it more than once. You know what I mean? In the presentation section, you can manage the presentation, how it looks, show the progress. So if it's a really long one, we've all gotten the, maybe not all of us, but I'm sure some of you have gotten those surveys that are like 90 questions or whatever. It just feels like that much. It'll show you how many questions that they've done out of how many are available. If it's a quiz, you can shuffle the order. This is really helpful. It helps to prevent students from cheating and looking over each other's shoulders. You can also edit the confirmation. Thanks for I did this one. Thanks for participating. Enjoy the rest of your day. iTeach808. You can show the link to submit another response if they want to do it twice. Maybe they need to do it for their friend. I'm not too sure. They can also review the results. If you don't want to share this out, if you just want it to be, if you want to display it to them on your own, then that's totally fine. You can also disable autosave, which is kind of cruel, but hey, it's an option. For that's different options available in the presentation. These are the defaults. You can change this at will. I usually keep this one off just because I like to toggle it on. Yeah, and you can also make questions required by default, so meaning that they won't be able to submit it unless they've answered a question. How to share it is a huge part of this, I believe. I think it's kind of important. You can make the best forms in the world, but they don't do nothing if you don't share it. So that comes with the send button. There's a few different ways you can do it. You can email it to every single person. I generally don't do that because I don't want to type everybody's email in here. But if you only want one person to do it, that's fine. I like sharing it as a link. One cool option, you can shorten it. So that huge URL address now became a little bit smaller. It's still something that I wouldn't remember off the top of my head, but that's why I have bit.ly. And also, if you have your own web page, you can embed it with this. So you just go and copy this code right here, put it in your HTML, and you can embed it right there. Google Sites has an option for this as well. You can even control how tall and how, excuse me, how wide and how tall the form looks on that page too, which is pretty cool. You can also include collaborators. So say you're not the only person who's in control of this form. You want to share it with your administrator, your co-teacher, what have you. You can also add collaborators here. And this is different from sending it out. They'll be actually able to edit it as well. You can give them a link in order to do that, or you can email it to them as well. All right, sorry, I just saw my chat starting to blow up. My bad if I ignored you for a second. The detail means that if you're collecting emails, you're only allowing one response for that email address. That's generally how it controls it. So say you don't want them to take a quiz twice, you collect their email, and then they can only do it once for that email. I guess they can make another email and do it again, but that wouldn't make sense. I'm glad you think so. Yeah, sharing is really something you have to be careful about and look over. There's a bug trying to drink my coffee. I don't want it. Sorry. Oh yeah, and I'm so glad that you you have any questions about the sharing aspects, Celeste? Or did I answer all of your questions?
You're good. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Feel free to jump in the chat or ask a question if you need, okay? Happy to help. All right, and that's different ways to share. So here's some uses. I've used it primarily for quizzes a lot, but I think in the course of distance learning, we all did like temperature checks and stuff like that when we were in class. But now that we are all really well versed in how to teach like this through Zoom, Google Meets, what have you, WebEx, I would give these like once a week just to check on my students. Like, did they get a lesson? Cool. Did they get a skill that we're trying to go over? So on and so forth. What do you think about a vocabulary word, what have you? One awesome way is to just check how they're feeling. My students tend to be pretty honest when they're answering these, especially if it's anonymous and I'm sharing it with the class just to kind of gauge the class mood, like, hey, how you guys doing? You feeling okay? Or do you have a whole lot of other assignments right now? Should I hold off on assigning the summative maybe for a couple of days? That one was really useful for me. Administrators can use this as evaluations. So we have lots of evaluations all the time. It's just a part of teaching nowadays. And it's a great way to get your own, sorry, just had a little brain fart. Your own feedback and your own data on teachers, as well as like your students, how do they evaluate you? So don't just wait for the mandatory ones. You can make your own evaluation that students can send your way. As worksheets, obviously quizzes, worksheets, they're pretty, both worksheets, excuse me, and quizzes are, it's kind of like the new way to do a worksheet, if you will. They can provide their short answers, they can do multiple choice, all of the different varieties of questions that are available. And I gave you also a temperature check template. If you guys can't open this, let me know, but you're totally more than welcome to use this, copy it, make your own, whatever's. Yeah. It's just, you can change it at will. I change it every single time. And I also keep some of my data as well afterwards. And we'll get into that in a second. Do you guys have any questions about anything I just said, or are we good to move on? Give you a couple of seconds to respond. Okay, cool. I'll take your silence as compliance. Other ways forms are getting better and smarter. All right. We all know that Google and other things like to complete our sentences before we finish them. It's kind of like that special connection you have with that other person, right? So if you're starting to type in a new question, I'll just show you an example. We'll add a question right here. So what day? Anything having to do with the day is going to give you suggested answers. You can add them all. You can do one by one, so on and so forth. What state? Didn't really like that one. I don't know. There's a bunch of different ways that it'll help you. Choose between A and B. I wonder if it's going to do anything. Fail. Anyway, it'll help. It'll be a little bit smarter. It'll complete it for you. And a lot of times it makes your life a little bit easier. So those are the autocomplete. It might autocomplete your answers. And also one way to really use it, and I've mentioned this a bunch because I love it so much, how to make quizzes. All right, so This is a quiz. It's the same thing as the temperature check one, but I made a copy of it. So in the settings, the one thing I did is I made it a quiz. It's worth 0 points, so nobody cares about it, but hey, it's a quiz, right? When you select make this a quiz, you have a few different options available to you. Respondents can see questions that are answered incorrectly, correct answers, and the point values of each of those questions. And when you go back to your questions, excuse me, and you click on that question, you have an answer key down here. And you can select which answer is the correct answer. If there's more than one, that's fine. And same thing for down here. Which one is the correct answer? There's no correct answer because it's just choose the correct answers and yes, no, and maybe. But that's just the way that you would do it on your own. Turning it into a quiz automatically grades it for you unless it's a short answer, sorry. But yeah. I already took answer keys, cool. Sorry, give me 1 sec. Gotta hydrate. And that's more or less the general walkthrough. I like to leave a little bit of time towards the end for you guys to create your own assignments, ask any questions that you might have. So if there's something that you would like to brush up on, please let me know and I'll be happy to help you out. But more or less, that's the general run through of the presentation. So now it's your opportunity, your turn to create your own quiz, create your own survey, your own form, so that you may help to better your own pedagogy. Anybody have any questions, comments, so on and so forth? Anything that you need a live demonstration of, I'm here for you. Otherwise, feel free to click on this link and make your own form. There's a couple different templates you can use as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry, I guess I went a little fast.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Myers?
Thank you, Mr. McLean.
Not that I see in the chat. Okay. Well, we'd like to say thank you to Noel Myers and for everyone's participation. We hope that you found this session helpful and make some very valuable connections. If you could please help us complete the survey on iTeach808's website. I can add that right now to the chat. And the survey will also be sent to the email that you registered with. So please make sure to check your spam folder as well for any emails from iTeach808hawaii@gmail.com. Let me see. You will also be entered to win one of $25 Target gift cards if you complete the survey by February 4th. So thank you so much for being here today and feel free to join any of the other sessions coming up and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, guys.